This, ladies and gentlemen, is the new Hero Xtreme, and as you can already see, it's grown bigger. It's now a 250. And that gets me wondering, why do Indian manufacturers shy away from this 250cc segment? Why has it taken them so long to make any splash in this segment? Look at Bajaj. They gave us Pulsars ranging from 125 all the way to 220, but that 250 took decades to come. Same is the case with Hero. They gave us the lovely CBZ, the motorcycle that literally kick-started the power commuter segment. They immediately followed it up with the sports tourer, the Charisma 223. But since then, they've only been playing under that 223cc bracket. They never really had the courage to go to 250. Why is that? For the longest time, quarter-litre motorcycles were seen as indulgent, impractical, and unviable for a mass market manufacturer. High fuel prices, price-sensitive buyers, and underdeveloped road infrastructure meant that anything above 200cc sat on the fringes of relevance. And yet, as enthusiasts, we waited for something that was well-built, that was performance-oriented, and came from a trusted brand. It has taken Hero over 2 decades since the original CBZ to step up into the ring with something as bold as the Xtreme 250. But now that they are here, it is definitely good news. It's focused, it's fast, it has been in development for 4 years. So how has it all come together? On the face of it, it looks bold. It can easily pass off as the most aggressive-looking Hero motorcycle yet. A befitting design for a flagship Xtreme. But the bigger question is this the right motorcycle at the right time, or is it extremely late to the party? Let's find out. For a long time, Indian two-wheeler manufacturers built their empire on the back of fuel efficiency and low running costs. The 100 to 150cc class was king, and even the jump to 200cc was considered risky. When Honda launched the CBR 250R in 2011, it was seen as a halo product, not as a volume mover. Yamaha's R15 may have paved the way in terms of perception, but its small displacement kept it out of the 250cc club. Even Bajaj, which had always been the bold one with the Pulsar brand, resisted a true 250cc bike until the KTM alliance matured. Instead, they leaned on the 220 and the 200NS to stretch the performance envelope. Meanwhile, Hero, after the split with Honda, had to reinvent their R&D to match up to their rivals. So while their global rivals marched on, Hero was still trying to play catch-up with their commuters. Then they slowly started catching up with motorcycles like the Xtreme and eventually the Charisma XMR. But I think this is their best attempt yet, the Xtreme 250. At first glance, the Hero Xtreme 250 doesn't look like it belongs in the same company as older, mellow Hero motorcycles. This one is bold. The fuel tank is unapologetically large, and yet it only packs in about 11.5 liters of fuel capacity. And to make itself look that large, it's made up of multiple panels, which on our new bike are already buzzing. Highway speeds, you can already hear a lot of buzzing from either of these panels. And if you're not wearing your plugs, that buzzing can get really irritating. Now back to the bold design, I think it definitely looks good, but it's going to be very polarizing. You're either going to love it or you're going to absolutely think it's overdone. I don't know which side you're on. Let us know in the comments. Either way, there is no denying that it definitely makes the silhouette aggressive, and the lean forward stance gives it a genuine street fighter appeal. It's also purposeful under the skin. You get a steel trellis frame developed for torsional and lateral stiffness so that your handling is sharp and uncompromised. It comes with 43mm upside down forks. This is the kind of hardware we've come to expect from KTM, not Hero, but it's right there. And then you have the muscular styling, which might make you feel that the bike is pretty heavy, but honestly, the bike feels quite light on its feet. It's only when you're negotiating really tight parking spaces or you're riding in bumper-to-bumper traffic where you probably have to keep your foot down every now and then. That's the only time when you'll feel that the motorcycle feels a bit top-heavy. On the move, the bike feels solid. The highway manners are really good with excellent stability. It doesn't attack corners with the same aggression as a KTM Duke, And the turn-ins aren't as quick either, but the cornering stability is excellent. The MRF tires are good too, but start feeling skittish at higher leans. But your weekend rides should be fun. On the track, you might need better rubber, should you take this to the track days. The bike has all the ingredients of a performance machine, and the numbers back that up. As far as the brakes are concerned, there is quite a bit of a spongy feel. You know, this happening with the X-Pulse, I'm okay, but this happening with the Xtreme, no, I would have liked it to be a bit more bitey. I would have liked the feel to be more like competitor K in that sense. More so for the rear brake. The rear brake is absolutely spongy, and even the pedal travel seems a bit much, especially given the position of the rear sets. Let's also take this opportunity to talk about the ergonomics. Now, the foot pegs, like I said, are not too far behind. They are quite sportily placed. They are not too far forward either. Doesn't feel like a power commuter. It actually feels like a very sporty motorcycle that you're using for commuting. So overall, the ergonomics are quite nice. I also like how your knees and your thighs fall in place with this muscular tank. It's easy to grab onto under braking, while cornering, etc. You get a really nice grip. So the riding posture, really good. It's quite sorted. We did about 150 kilometers today, and it did not feel uncomfortable at all. Of course, this is a naked, so you're battling a lot of the weather, the wind and all of that at higher speeds, because the engine will go past 140 kilometers an hour as well, but more on that later. As far as the air goes and the seat goes, it's really good. Now, for the seat, the frontal section of the seat is designed in such a way that it's flat, so you can, sit in an upright manner when you're commuting, so that it's nice and comfortable. But when you're attacking the bends, or maybe if you take it to the racetrack, the rear section of the seat has been raised a little. So the moment you move back, you get into a more attacking stance naturally. You don't really have to bend. It naturally sort of bends you down for that attacking posture. So I quite like how they have done a small change, but that has made a lot of difference. So this is something that I really like. Ergonomics are spot on. And now let's talk about the all-important engine. This is the 250cc engine, all new, liquid cooled. It is essentially born from the Charisma's 210cc motor, but it has been given a longer stroke. It puts out about 30 PS of power, 25 Newton meters of torque. I know these are figures that you've already heard of, that you've already read on the brochure, because this motorcycle has already garnered a lot of interest. How does it all come together on the road? Well, I am in love with this engine. The way it accelerates, it's simply phenomenal. Despite whatever they are claiming, it definitely feels real quick, both in terms of outright acceleration and also in gear acceleration. It wakes up at about 5,000 RPM, but the moment it gets there, from there it just wants to rush to the red line. So that mid-range to the top-end performance is simply superb, something that you want from a fast street naked like this. What I also like is that meaty torque spread. The way it has been spread out, even if you are in a higher gear, the tractability is excellent. It doesn't expect you to be on the boil all the time. Even if you are in a higher gear at lower RPM, it pulls cleanly from there without any knocking, without too much buzzing. And that's something that I really like again. I complained about the buzzing in the tank. Yes, that's still there, but you don't feel a lot of vibrations in the handlebars or in the foot pegs compared to, say, what we witnessed on the Charisma, for example, the Charisma 210. This has been mellowed down quite a bit in terms of the vibrations, so you get a nice easy cruising of about 120-125 kilometers an hour without really making the engine feel strangled, or without feeling like it's getting a bit too irritating in the handlebars. So overall, I think that engine is excellent. The way it performs, it's just brilliant. It's so good, in fact, that I'm wondering, why couldn't they just do this motor in the X-Pulse as well? With the kind of torque that it has, with the kind of initial acceleration that it has, it would be the perfect mill for the X-Pulse as well. But this will only be joined by a Charisma 250 later. That engine has been benchmarked against some of the juicy rivals that we have in the 250cc segment, the KTMs included. It does a 0 to 60 in about 3.2 seconds. It will go from 0 to 100 in about 8.5 seconds. So if you were to really compare it to its class rivals, it is rather quick. In fact, Hero claims it is the quickest motorcycle in its segment. And it definitely feels that. Even the mid-range torque is so nicely delivered, so pulling overtakes or exiting corners really fast is quite doable. In fact, it can stay up with the KTM Duke 250 on most of the aspects, maybe even outclass it in certain. Despite being the flagship 250, it doesn't come with a lot of electronic fanfare. You do get ABS riding modes. So you have the road mode, which will essentially have ABS alert all the time on both the wheels. And then you have the track mode, where the ABS is alert only on the front wheel. It will also allow a little bit of the rear wheel lift. And if there is slip, It will allow a little bit of slip before the ABS kicks in again to save the day for you. So I think on paper, this is a really cool tech. However, out on public roads, we really couldn't put it to the test. So hopefully we'll ride this motorcycle on the racetrack at some point and then tell you what it feels like. Now, that particular track mode, Hero says it offers 5% better braking and lesser braking distance overall than the road mode. Again, something that we can't really test without a V-Box. The other thing that they claim is that it offers 10% lesser stopping distance than competitor K, I wonder who that might be, when the Supermoto mode is engaged for the braking. I'm sure you guys have already guessed what it is. Now let's circle back to that core question. Is this the right bike at the right time? Or has Hero missed the moment? There's no denying that KTM has already rewritten expectations in this segment. Suzuki and Yamaha have loyalists, and Bajaj has evolved the Pulsar brand to overlap with KTM's portfolio. But the market itself has matured too. Motorcycle riders today want something that is a lot more than a commuter bike, but less than a hardcore track tool. They want something that's usable, something that's stylish, something that's performance-oriented, but at the same time, still be an affordable street bike. And I think that is where this motorcycle fits in quite well. That is where the Xtreme 250 could carve its niche. It definitely loves to chase revs like the KTM Duke. It loves to turn heads like the Yamaha MT-03, but at the same time achieve a balance. It doesn't want to be too aggressive on its styling, or it doesn't want to be too intimidating on its performance, because it doesn't want its target audience to shy away. The Hero Xtreme 250 is not perfect. The quality could have been better, the fit and finish could have been fit for a premium motorcycle. It arrives in a segment that's no longer waiting for a savior. It's already crowded with talented contenders. But what Hero have delivered is not a spec sheet warrior. It's a motorcycle built with intent, with confidence, and a lot of swagger. Decades of waiting, 4 years in development, but perhaps this 250 still has a chance.